Hey guys, Steve from Flite Brothers here, and today we're checking out this micro FlySky receiver, which is available pretty much only from Banggood, and it's really a neat piece of equipment here. Now, Rich and I have both been Turnigy 9X users for a long time, and Rich did upgrade at one point to a 433 megahertz transmitter module and receivers and stuff in his 9X, but he does still do some FlySky stuff, and all of my stuff, all of my planes, my two quads so far are all FlySky. And the one downside to FlySky, I mean, to me, it's worked really well. I don't have any complaints. I know people say what they want about FlySky, but it works really well for me. But the only problem I've had with FlySky is that the receivers for FlySky are always quite large and bulky. This is about the smallest regular receiver you can get for a FlySky unit. This is a 6-channel, and it's cased. Now, in my 250, I wound up decasing one of these. I took all the pins off and soldered directly just to save a little space, and it worked out pretty well, but it's still pretty large, and it's PWM, so it's just not that very, not a great feature for FlySky units. Now, when I saw this on Banggood, I was really excited because not only is this a really tiny FlySky receiver, I mean, you can just see how tiny this is. Here's a picture of it compared to a couple of other things. I want to thank my friend out there, Al, for sending me these pictures to use since I forgot to take some out of the box. But you can just see, I mean, right here, this is an inch grid, and, it's not even an inch long. It's probably, half an inch wide. It's absolutely tiny. And the nice thing is, too, you can get it in two different configurations. One is with all 8 pins on the side being PWM outputs, and this particular version is a PPM output on pin 8, which is right here, that yellow wire there. And then you have your power and your ground. And so 3 little tiny wires. This goes out to the nays on my X210, which I've been running this receiver on for a little while. And it works great as a PPM, which is awesome to have for a FlySky. Now, the other thing that it comes out of the box with, as you saw in the other picture, and there it is again, is it comes with just a single wire antenna sticking off here, which really wasn't working for my purposes. So you can see I actually made an antenna out of some RG178 coax. So I ordered a length of this coax off of Amazon, and you can see it's pretty small, flexible, nice little wire to work with. From my research, the RG178 is a better choice for 2.4 gigahertz systems, which is why I went with that instead of some of the other options out there. And what I had to do was strip it down. You can see right there, there's the inside bare wire, and there is the ground. And did something similar to this. I twisted it up real tight, and after twisting it up really tight, I tinned both this end and the sleeve, and I was able to solder it right to the antenna output. You can see the sleeve is soldered to that corner, and the main part is soldered to the antenna output there. Now, the really important thing is to make those as short as you possibly can. The less exposed wire from the center that's exposed there, the better. So I made those super short. I made the wire as long as it needed to be, and then at the end, I stripped out a 32 millimeter length, which is the length for roughly for 2.4 gigahertz. So I stripped that off, and that acts as my antenna now. Now, if I wanted to, I could have folded the sleeve back 32 millimeters and made it a dipole, and it might have worked even better. But I gotta be honest, I've gotten great range using this. I actually haven't found the end of the range, and I was flying all over one day without even thinking about it in my plane chase video that you might have seen out a few weeks ago. Now, there is one unfortunate downside to this receiver, and this is that the way you receive it from Banggood, and by the way, I got a link in the description if you want to check it out. The way you receive it, there is no failsafe on these. If they lose signal with the transmitter, it's going to stick with whatever the last input was, which for flying mini quads is not the greatest thing. And I've been taking a big chance flying this for the last month or so without failsafe, and it could be very easily have a flyaway if I'm not careful. So I did a little research, and it turns out that the guy who invented this actually made it. He shared it, I believe, on RC groups, and then Banggood just took it and started producing it. Now, he shared it publicly. He didn't think there'd be a huge demand for it. They didn't technically steal it, but they took the design and just ran with it and started producing them and selling them, and it's been very hot. Now, since the guy invented it, he didn't get all mad and angry. What he did is he posted a forum in Banggood, and he offered some updated firmware and some updated options that allow you to add failsafe to this receiver, which is awesome. The only thing is you need to program it. So all these extra little pins here are the programming pins. And the thing is, you need a special programmer. It's not your typical programmer for these chips. So you have to get one of these Picket 3 programmers in order to do it. And these are not too bad. I found one for about $22 on eBay, shipped to me in stateside. So I was able to get it pretty quick, and I'm able to go ahead and try programming this. I haven't done it yet, but the next part of this video is going to be me showing how that turns out, and hopefully it turns out okay. So the guy who invented it shared this image, which shows exactly how to set up the pins from the Picket 3 programmer to the programming pins on the receiver. So the next thing I need to do is I need to go ahead and take these wires from the Picket 3 programmer, and I'm going to cut them off, and I'm going to very carefully solder them correctly into the pins. All right, so I'm back from soldering, and this was kind of a tricky process because those pins are so small, but I followed the wiring diagram based on what the forum from Banggood showed me and got my wires soldered up so that pin 1 is going to the second one down from power. Pin 2 is going to the first one right next to the power in. Pin 3 is the ground going all the way to the end. Pin 4 is right next to the ground, and pin 5 is the one in the middle there. So I got those soldered up, and reading the instructions, I learned that you have to apply power from an external power source to the receiver when you're programming it. For this reason, I really recommend that you do this before you install it into a quad. I had mine already wired up and not really a good way to power it up, and I didn't want to put it back into my quad with all this extra wires on it. So I just quickly used the other set of pins that came with the programmer and shrunk wrap my positive and negative onto a couple of those pins. And I'm going to use this 5-volt BC, plug it in there. That's going to give me my power to my receiver when I do the programming. So now that I have this done, I'm going to go over to the computer, and we're going to see if we can download those files that he suggests and see if we can get this thing programmed up. So we're going to start on this Banggood forum website, where the guy who designed the chip that makes this all possible posted his updated firmware and the links to all the tools you need to do it. I'll put the link to this in the description of the video. We're going to scroll down and find the paragraph that talks about the new firmware and source code. I'm going to copy that link, paste it into a new tab or new window, and it'll look something like this when you get there. Now, I'm going to show you how to download the hex file and the .c file, but you really only need the .c file for the flash, I found out later. You're going to want to get the MPLAB C18 version of the C file. And to download it, just right-click, hit Save Link As, choose your location, and hit Save, and you will save that file. I'm saving it on a folder in the desktop so I can keep everything neat and tidy for us. If you want to download the hex file, you won't need it, but you can do it the same way. And we're going to go back to the forum. We're going to scroll down, and we're going to find the paragraph about the compile and or program, the paragraph that says works with Picket 2 and Picket 3, since we have a Picket 3 programmer. You're going to want to copy this link, paste that into a new window, and it should automatically start downloading this mplab.zip file, which is the program you're going to use to flash the chip. While that's downloading, you want to go down and find this other link, which is the mplab C18 Windows Lite installer.exe. That's the program that's basically the C+ compiler that allows the flashing program to decode the way the firmware was written in the C language so that it can then write it to the chip. So it's something you definitely need. So we're downloading both of those now, and it'll be done shortly. Now that we have both those files downloaded, we can actually go to the folder where they were downloaded and begin installing our software. We're going to start by extracting the zip file that we downloaded, the MPLAB IDE 892 zip file. Just going to right click, extract all, hit extract, and then you'll get this new folder that has these files in it, and you're going to want to run the setup application. That setup will install the program that you need, the MPLAB IDE program. That's the actual program that flashes. Then you go back and you're going to run the MPLAB 18 Windows Lite installer. That's going to install the C compiler to read the MPLAB C file that we downloaded earlier. Once those are installed, we can go ahead and open up the MPLAB IDE program. From here, the process is fairly simple. You're going to go to Project, Project Wizard. Hit Next. The first thing it asks is device. Now the device I received from Banggood is the PIC18F 14K22. If you don't put the correct device into this, you'll be unable to flash the device and you'll get an error message because it's expecting whatever device you choose here, and if it's not the right one, it won't work. If you have trouble with that, let me know and I might be able to help you. In this screen, we're going to pick under the drop-down menu Microtrip C18 Tool C and then MPLAB C18 C Compiler. That's the compiler tool we downloaded. Create new project file name. Just type whatever name you want. I'll use FlySky Micro. Then hit Browse. If you hit Next, it asks you to pick a directory. So you hit Browse and pick the directory. I'm going to go ahead and choose the same directory that I downloaded those on my desktop. Put another file name in here. Again, I'm going to just put in FlySky. That's easy enough. Hit Save and go to Next. Now, this is asking us to add an existing file to the project. This is where you need that .c file that we downloaded earlier. So you're going to click that, hit Add, and then hit Next, and that will add it to the project. And when you hit Done, you'll see your project is in this little window, and you can see the C file is there under the Source Files folder. Now, this is where we need to plug in the programmer and the receiver and power the receiver on so that we can continue with this to flash it. So, we've got our programmer and our receiver plugged in and powered up, and now we can continue. We're going to hit Project Make, and you'll see on the right side it go through a bunch of rigmarole and say Build Succeeded. And then you go to Programmer and pick Picket 3. This little voltage caution will come up. Just hit Continue. You'll see Picket 3 connected, target device. Then you go to Programmer, Program, and you'll see it say Programming, Verify Complete, and you have just successfully flashed the new firmware onto your chip. When you go to choose the Picket 3 programmer, it may ask you to install a new firmware. That firmware is for the Picket programmer itself, and it'll go through that pretty quickly, and then you can just follow those last two steps again. I had done it before making this video, so it didn't ask me again. Now we're done. We can just go ahead, close the workspace, and unplug your receiver and your Picket programmer from the power and from the USB, and we can head back over to the bench and test it out in the quad, set the failsafe, and see if it works. Alright, so I've removed the plugs from the Picket 3 programmer, and I've left these pins exposed because I need to short a couple of those to set the failsafe. But before I do that, I need to rebind my transmitter to it. Since I reprogrammed it, it used to be bound to my transmitter, but the reprogramming has lost that bind, so I need to do it again. So you can see if I plug power into the receiver, the light blinks really quickly. That's telling me it's not bound. So I'm going to remove power from the receiver. I'm going to put my transmitter into bind mode by holding the button, turning it on. And then I'm going to plug power back into the receiver. And it might be hard to see, but when I do it, the light is going to blink for a fraction of a second, and then it's going to go out again. Let's see that. Might have been hard to see, but that light flashed once. That's telling me it's bound. Now all I have to do is turn my transmitter back off and on, and you should see the red light is now solid on the receiver. That's telling me that I'm bound again. Now, to set the failsafe, in order to set the failsafe, I need to short out the ground, which in this case is the yellow one, or pin 3, with the PGD pin, which in this case is the orange colored one, or pin 4. So if I simply take a screwdriver and short those pins, but before I short them, I need to put my transmitter into the position that I want. So in my case, I'm putting the throttle all the way down, and I'm flipping my switch for the disarm. So if I get out of range, my quad is just going to disarm, throttle down, and it's going to drop to the ground, just like that. That way, I know it's not going to fly away on me. So I've got my throttle down, my switch is set to disarm, and I'm going to short those two pins. And when I do, you're going to see the red light blink a little bit, and that's going to tell me that I properly did it. So here we go. See that blinking? That tells me that it set the failsafe, and I'm good to go. Now, I'm going to get this receiver put back into my quad. I'm going to disconnect all of those wires that I soldered on there for the programming, and we're going to see how it goes from there. Okay, so I'm back with my quad, and I've left my programming wires on just in case, but I'm going to try out and see if the new firmware took, if it's working with 8-channel PPM, and if I am indeed getting a failsafe to work. So, receiver's plugged in, transmitter's on, and I'm going to go ahead and plug the battery in. Okay, and you can't see it, but I can see the LED under here is gone solid, which means I'm getting a signal. So if all 8 channels are working, I should be able to arm the quad. I'm going to go ahead and try that. Beautiful. My beeper's working. All right, all my controls seem to be working correctly. So I'm going to throttle up a little bit, and then I'm going to hit the receiver off, and I set the failsafe to throttle down, disarm, and for the beeper to beep. So let's see if it works. I'm going to throttle up a little bit so we know that the throttle cuts. Okay, I'm going to turn off my transmitter. See what happens. Haha. So it looks like it waited about a second from when I turned it off. Went into failsafe mode. It's disarmed, throttle's off, beeper's going. So as long as I don't lose my battery, should be able to find it good if that happens. So excellent. I'm going to turn my transmitter back on. And there we are. It's armed back up. Ready to go. Beautiful. Alright, so last thing to do is take these programming wires off, re-shrink wrap that, remount it onto my quad, and I'm ready to go. So, friends, thanks for watching. I appreciate your feedback, so let me know if I can help you out in any way. But that wraps up this video on programming the micro FlySky receiver and flashing it with the new firmware with Failsafe. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, share, like, and subscribe if you did. Thanks, and we'll catch you next time.